walk into somebody's home.
And good. I want people to have that fear.
Yeah, me too. Michael Moore, I'm telling you, please
You're an
don't
idiot.
walk into my home without being invited in.
And then he made a comment, too, about, and 60% of the houses were unlocked. Well, how the hell does he know that? Did he do a study? I'm assuming he did a study.
I guess I thought he meant on that block.
It doesn't matter. I don't.
60% were.
How many homes did he walk into?
I don't know. I don't know. He said he took a whole block. And
well,
who knows?
He was on Twitter, and people. He had some comments on Twitter, and people asked him some questions. And here's some quotes he had. This is what he said. He says, "As for gun laws, I would ban auto and semi-automatic guns. I would ban clips or magazines with more than 7 bullets, and tax bullets to pay for mental health care. I would also take every gun has to be registered and every gun owner subjected to passing tests to get a license. And I would repeal the Second Amendment." So, but then he goes on, and someone asks him, and says, "Do you think banning assault weapons will stop massacres?" And he answers, "No, of course not. We know that." Next question. "What do you think repealing the Second Amendment would achieve?" Well, then he says this. "Well, I wouldn't ban guns." so he says, "I would just remove the constitutional right to own an Uzi."
Yeah, right.
I didn't know that was.
In the Second Amendment doesn't say Uzi, but I'm going to go off on a little crazy limb here and say something that I don't hear a lot. I was listening to Sean Hannity, who I don't always agree with, and he was talking to somebody about the Second Amendment and about. He said, but surely, the Second Amendment doesn't give you the right to own an RPG. I mean, and the guest said, well, obviously, it doesn't allow you to own RPGs. Well, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah,
it doesn't limit it to firearms or to knives or to RPGs.
It says arms.
The point was to allow the citizens to be able to fight back fight against a tyrannical government, and whatever they have would be ideally would be what the citizens have to fight back with. At least weaponry as good as the government has.
I want the same weapons that the police and the military have.
Yeah,
I think that's fair and reasonable.
Yeah, I completely think so. I mean, they're they do have official government training, but I don't think they're better equipped to handle those weapons than I am, or
doesn't
than
matter.
you are.
It doesn't matter. I have a right to own them, and I want them.
Exactly. None of that matters. We're coming up on a break here, though. I do want to remind you about the free audiobook that you can get at audibletrial.com/@odds. Sign up for a 30-day free trial. Cancel anytime. Get a free audiobook.
Check them out.
Check it out. They have over 100,000 selections for Kindle, Android devices, MP3 players, iPhones, things like that. We will be right back. We have some news about an NBC news anchor possibly committing a felony in D.C.
And we also talk about publishing a bunch of concealed pistol carriers' licenses in a newspaper.
A couple New York counties.
So we'll go back. We'll be back. Is that all right?
All right, and we are back. It's a quick break. Brian's not really used to breaks or anything like that, but
what's a break?
Not quite enough time for him to run to the potty and back.
No, it's not. I need to. We need to do 2 minutes.
We'll practice.
Anyways, well, let's do that real quick. Let's do the journalism thing. Apparently, there was a paper, the Journal News in New York, and they published names and addresses of pistol permit holders. And I guess there were some bloggers that retaliated.
Right, yeah. There were several places that did this. I noted one. There was this big crowdsourcing effort where basically people commented on his site, sent him emails. You take all this knowledge from millions of people in the country, and he got the names and addresses, phone numbers, contact information from staff at the Journal News, the paper that published this map of gun owners, and he did the same thing. He said, well, if you're going to post all these names, then you should be fine with us posting your names.
Right.
And chances are, these people at the Journal News posting names of gun owners don't own firearms.
Right.
So their names and addresses.
Right. And that's,
Google Maps of their house.
Sure.
I don't know that I necessarily think that's a great thing that he did that, but I understand the point.
I don't know. Pointer Journalism Scholars, which is a journalism institute in Florida, they criticized the paper for doing that. Roy Clark told the Associated Press that Matt pinpointing gun owners' homes was comparable to sex offender registries. He goes on to say, you get the connotation that somehow there's something essentially wrong with this behavior. Now, Roy Clark, who was a senior scholar there, he says, I support journalism. He says, but, he wanted to be persuaded that this story had value, but he couldn't find any. And then Al Tompkins, who was also a senior faculty member there, said that the problem is not that the Gannett-owned Journal News was too aggressive. They weren't aggressive enough. And he says, reporting to justify invading the privacy of people who legally own handguns in the two counties, what purpose does it serve? He said if they want to show that there's a flaw in the permitting system or that there's favoritism on who gets permits, if the data showed the relationship between the numbers of permits issued and the crime rates that serve a public purpose, if there was some public purpose, they would be fine with it. But just because you can do it, they were against it.
Yeah, look, all these names and addresses apparently were public information in New York in these counties. But it's a privacy issue. These gun owners, if they want to publish their names, they can.
Right.
If they don't want to, they shouldn't have somebody else publishing them for them. And my big problem is the Journal News going to claim responsibility for any break-ins that happen at these places? Because now it's national news.
Yeah, they go on to talk. They address that.
National news that these specific addresses have permits to own firearms. It doesn't mean they do,
right.
But they may have guns in there. It'd be a good place to rob if they're not home to get guns.
Yeah, and they said, they addressed that. This institute that was opposed to this said, it's different with sex offenders. They've committed a crime.
Yeah, exactly.
These people haven't.
Yeah.
He says if you're publishing data just because it's public, and it might be, topical, doesn't, where do you stop? He says if your county requested dog and cat licenses, would you publish that map?
Yeah, and maybe they have. I don't know. I mean, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they have posted all all dog registrations.
He said, I'd like to know who owns dogs if I want to buy a house in a neighborhood. I don't want barking dogs in my yard.
Oh, that's a funny story there about, anyway.
But let's see.
Exactly right. I mean, I saw an argument even from some conservative bloggers saying, well, gun owners always say that it's their right to own guns and they have guns to protect their house. Wouldn't they want the public to know they own guns? And why are they shy now all of a sudden? And I don't know why these supposed conservatives are coming out and saying that it's okay, that maybe this is a good thing for gun owners because people won't break into their houses, and I think that's just completely upside down.
Yeah, the NRA addressed that, and they said two things. This is, now you know who may have a gun in their house, so you could, rob them, but you're also letting robbers know who may not have a gun because their name isn't on the list.
Yeah, exactly.
So your neighbor next door that's not on the list now.
Yeah, and and that's
that's
another thing, and that I think that's probably more likely to happen is that if somebody did use this list to commit a robbery, burglary, that they would go to the house next door or a couple houses down from the one that's on the map. But
it's a slippery slope when you give out information like that when it doesn't serve any purpose other than you just can. And in this case, it could actually do harm.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think, and with good reason. So I don't think that's good. Now, I think in Michigan they can't do that. I think in Michigan that registry is considered private, not subject to FOIA.
I think so. I think so.
Is.
I'm not 100% positive.
But other states, that record is public knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about Dave Gregory on Meet the Press, was it?
Got about 5 minutes left here. It'll be perfect.
Meet the Press. He was trying to make a point, and he
was on interviewing Wayne LaPierre.
And they were in D.C., in a studio in D.C.
Yep. President of the NRA.
Right. And Gregory has this, I don't know, 20 or 30 round magazine, and he's going on about how, you can get these and stuff. And oops, guess what? It's against the law for anyone to possess that magazine in D.C.
Oh, loaded or not loaded, huh?
And this was, a week or so ago, and they still haven't charged him. Now, there was an interesting quote, and it was the D.C. police chief they think is stuck between a rock and a hard place. If she doesn't charge Gregory with the felony, she sends a message to the crime-ridden city that the laws don't apply to the rich and powerful. However, if she does book him on breaking the city's onerous firearm law, it will further illustrate how ridiculous the laws are for law-abiding people to follow. He didn't have any ill intent. He wasn't doing anything that harmed anybody other than merely possessing this piece of plastic.
I don't think intent really matters to the law. And
not there.
What you just said, you said that the chief was between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
I think the chief was between a rock, which is a hard place, and the path that is the correct path to take.
Yeah.
You have, I could not charge them, and a rich person would get away with this, or I could enforce the law, which is my job.
Let the courts decide.
Let the courts decide if this influential rich person who just happens to agree with our ideology and just happens to push our beliefs, on gun control, maybe we could let him go then. But I mean,
it's up to the prosecuting attorney, though. I mean, it's the chief can arrest, but they can't charge.
Exactly right. But what do you think would happen if I went there? What would have happened if Wayne LaPierre had pulled one out of his pocket on the air?
He would have been
and
charged.
Said, "Hey, look what I have." Of course, he would have been charged.
Probably right on the air.
There were probably police waiting there, waiting for him to pull it out.
And the thing is, what was interesting is that the network had called the city and asked for permission. To have this magazine
ahead of time,
and they didn't give him permission to do it.
Yeah,
they went ahead and did it anyway. So
that makes it so much
worse.
That's
even more. That's he knew the law, was aware of the law,
and with that, how can you even claim that he didn't have intent to break the law,
or that he didn't know about the law?
I don't know that David Gregory himself had called and asked.
No, the network did,
but I don't know if
their legal.
I don't know if that matters really. He broke the law. It's a ridiculous law. This proves that is a ridiculous law. It does nothing. Obviously, I don't believe he was going to hurt anybody with that magazine. No. But he had it. It's illegal.
But he could end up being convicted of a felony.
Yeah.
And that could mess up the rest of his life.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I don't think they would fire him at NBC.
Probably not.
At all.
But
he would probably be promoted.
What if he had guns at home? Now he couldn't own them anymore because he would be a convicted felon.
Yeah, I bet he does have guns at home.
Probably
I bet his
does
security has guns.
Most these hypocrites do have guns.
Which a point that we can bring up real quick. Dianne Feinstein.
Yes.
She's put forth a
Onious
huge a big gun ban that she would like to
handguns,
see
everything. I mean,
yep. It doesn't stop at assault rifles, but we found out that she had a concealed pistol permit.
She may still have it. Who knows?
She may still have it, but I mean, come on.
Hey, it's good for me, but not for you peasants.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that really is most distressing is that they really feel that way. I can own a gun, but you people can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Because somehow I'm special.
That's exactly right.
And I actually need a gun.
And I think that's what they think. They think they're so important that they need the firearm because they do need to protect themselves.
I think Michael Moore is right that she might be afraid of black people, Indians, and former slaves.
Well, geez, I mean, Michael Moore bringing up the point that he was afraid of black people, or that Americans are afraid of black. I mean, where is his mind that that's what he comes to?
He's stupid.
You talk about, Jamie Foxx and these people talking about racism. Jamie Foxx, he's in that new movie. And then
he's shooting all kinds of white people, using the N-word left and right.
He said, it's finally a movie where all the white people get killed. How great is that?
I know. On Saturday Night Live, he said that.
Yeah, and I mean, come on. That's
Talk
just
about
ridiculous.
racism. I don't know. I think it's disgusting. I just can't believe it. So.
Well, we're about wrapping up here. I want to remind you about our new sponsor. It is audible.com. You can head over to audibletrial.com/atodds. Sign up for a free 30-day trial. Get a free audiobook download for your iPhone, Android, MP3 player. Things like that. It's a great service. 100,000 books, audiobooks to choose from.
I think I'm going to go over and do that.
You should do
Brenna
that.
has that.
Until next time, I want to thank you for listening to At Odds.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.